Hey guys, Claire here from the Kitschy Kitchen, and I am doing a 3-part series on Valentine's Day. And I am making all of my husband's favorite foods and some of my favorite foods as well. And what's really fun about this for me is, well, I'm not really like that romantic of a person, despite, being in pink dresses and loving chocolate, but I actually am pretty bad with, putting together things like this, like date nights. So I figured since we're parents now, it's really important to be a little more romantic and to really savor that time when it's just us two adults. So for this Valentine's Day, I wanted to do something a little more special for Craig. And for this, I'm doing 2 of our favorite things. So one is Burrata, which is his favorite cheese in the world. If you've never had it, it's so delicious. You could switch it out from mozzarella, which is very similar. But the way burrata is made is you take the mozzarella curd, so mozzarella cheese, it gets stretched out, it gets filled with, it kind of depends on who's making it, but it gets filled with more mozzarella curds, like shredded with a little bit of cream, a little bit of mascarpone, sometimes it's ricotta, and you bundle it up so it's like a package. So it's almost like a mozzarella water balloon. It's so good. So yeah, if you can't find burrata, mozzarella is gonna work just fine. And so I'm doing that with roasted cherry tomatoes and basil. And then over here, behind this door, I have one of my favorite Roman pastas. Craig and I ate this basically every day we were in Rome on our honeymoon, and it's so good. And I butcher the way it's pronounced every time. Amatriciana, I think. If you're Italian, please tell me if I said that right. I think I said it right. But this recipe is modified from my friend Katie Parla's cookbook called Tasting Rome. She actually was a guest on my podcast. And so I was flipping through her cookbook and I saw this recipe and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. It's really that easy. It's like a 2-ingredient pasta sauce that tastes like something that's been simmering for 1,000 years, and like it should be much more complicated. So one of the main ingredients in this recipe is guanciale, which is just cured pork jowl. So this part of the pork. And the best place to find it is an Italian deli. So if you have an Italian deli in town, fabulous, they probably carry this. If you don't, and you're having problems finding guanciale, pancetta or even bacon will work really well. It's a slightly different flavor, but it'll still have a very similar effect, and it's still really, really delicious. So that works great. I then have bucatini, which is like a really thick spaghetti, and it actually is hollow on the inside, so it's really fun to slurp. And, I think after 5 years, Craig and I are at that place in our relationship where we can slurp pasta in front of each other. It's not a first date move, but it's definitely a 5-year move. And then my San Marzano tomatoes. All right, well, let's get started. First up, I'm going to roast these cherry tomatoes. It's really easy. It's literally just cherry tomatoes, olive oil, salt, chuck them in the oven. And I'm gonna keep an eye on those for, about 15, 20 minutes, something like that. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the sauce. The sauce comes together, and I'm not kidding, about 15 minutes, and that's fantastic. So one of the premises of doing this series is it's recipes that, as a mom, I actually can bang this out in under 20 minutes. So having like a romantic dinner under 20 minutes, yes, that's definitely a good thing. All right, so with the guanciale, I'm going to really thinly slice it. And this is about, I'd say, maybe like 6 ounces of guanciale. So the guanciale is nice and sliced. So I'm actually gonna go through now and cut them up into smaller segments. So for instance, like a 1/2 inch. So I am going to now render the fat on the guanciale. And what that means is I'm gonna cook this for maybe like 10, 15 minutes. And what I'm looking for is for it to render the fat. So that means all the golden fat is coming off, everything's getting nice and crisp. And this only happens if I do it over like kind of medium-low heat. If I go too high, what's gonna happen is the guanciale is gonna cook, but it's not gonna render out the fat that I need to really make a great sauce. So the guanciale is rendered, it's gorgeous. It's like perfect golden brown, and it's just the best. It's really crunchy on the outside and like just oily on the inside. It's like a perfect French fry when you bite into it, so it's so good. So what I'm gonna do now, because I want to keep that crispy awesomeness, I'm gonna turn off the heat quickly, and I'm just going to take the crispy bits of guanciale and just put them into the side, but I'm gonna keep all the oil in the pan. So I'm gonna taste the guanciale really quick, just to, science. It's so good. Definitely salty. So I don't think I need to add any salt to the sauce as I'm cooking it, and I'm actually probably gonna do just very little sauce when I'm cooking the pasta. So I'm turning up the pasta water and I'm gonna get started on the sauce. So I have my rendered guanciale fat and I'm just gonna add the tomatoes. So I'm just gonna let the tomatoes cook down until they get really nice, thick and saucy. And in the meantime, I'm gonna cook the bucatini. But in the 10 minutes that my pasta's cooking, my sauce is going to render down. And then in that time too, the tomatoes are gonna be fully roasted and out of the oven. So the pasta is almost done, so I'm gonna get ready with everything else. So I have my roasted cherry tomatoes. They look so delicious, I love it. So to garnish, I'm going to do a little bit of basil on top. So for me, I love a basil chiffonade, which basically means I'm just going to stack all the basil leaves on top of each other and then just really finely slice them. So to put it all together, I'm going to do the cherry tomatoes kind of around where the burrata is going to go. So now I'm going to take the burrata. So this is a lot of burrata, but Craig's a fan, so he can have it for lunch the next day. So I'm actually going to tear the top of it open a little bit like this. So all that delicious gooiness is revealed. And then I'm going to do olive oil on top. So I'm gonna put some cherry tomatoes on top of the burrata and then finish the whole thing with fresh basil. Last but not least, I have to finish the pasta. So the sauce has been bubbling away. It looks fantastic. So you can see that it's really thickened quite a bit. So I'm gonna take my bucatini out. The pasta is finished. Ooh, yeah. All I'm doing, I'm not cooking the pasta in here for long or anything like that. It's literally just to get the sauce kind of all mixed together. So I'm just turning everything. So I'm now gonna add the guanciale back in. All right, and the typical cheese you have to use in Roman pasta is pecorino. It's done, it looks beautiful, and I know I'm supposed to wait for Craig, but I am gonna have a bite right now just to see how it turns out. Okay, a little burrata, cherry tomato. That is a perfect combination. So delicious. The cherry tomatoes are bright, acidic, and a little sweet because we really cooked them down. The burrata is creamy and rich and so delicious. All right, and now my favorite part. It's beautiful. The guanciale is nice and crisp, and the tomato sauce has this really lovely sweetness to it. And it was so simple. It's literally 2 ingredients. Like, who knew, right? I'm so excited to enjoy these with Craig. I think he's gonna really like them, especially with a glass of vino. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make this really simple meal. It's so delicious. Everything here is really good, and it's done so quickly. That is the best part, and with very few ingredients. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.